Hello and welcome to our Commissioner Recap video for the meeting that was held yesterday, Tuesday, the 18th of June. It's been cold outside. It's been in the 20s up in the Ogden Valley, even at night, and unseasonably cold for a June. But we had a great commission meeting yesterday. One of the highlights at the very beginning is we were visited by Congressman Blake Moore, who gave us a recap of the things relating to Weber County but are happening in Washington. You can tune in to any time to our commission meeting and catch that on the first it's about 7 minutes into it, and then he takes to about he took about 10 minutes, and so gauge that, but it was really a good thing. We paid the bills. Those were the things that were found on the consent items. Nothing really of noteworthy other than we are holding the Utah Holstein Dairy Days out at the fairgrounds coming up, so that'll be another good show to watch for. I can tell you that yesterday too, during our action items, we've asked Ashley Thoman to come here and from our engineering department. Ashley, you talked about a watershed plan and a environmental assessment. Why don't you tell them why?
Yeah. Well, so we presented a contract. There was two. There was a consent item to accept more money from the NRCS to do this project.
NRCS, what does that mean?
I believe it's the Natural Resource and Conservation Service.
Thank you.
But you could correct me if I'm
wrong. No, that's exactly right.
And they gave us a grant. They're paying 100% of this study. We put it out to bid through our procurement process and found out the study was going to cost more. Asked for more money. They granted that. There was an amendment to our original grant agreement. That was the consent item to accept that money. And then the action item was to approve the contract with Franson Civil Engineers out of Cache Valley to do the work on this plan, to assess the dam, the state it's in, what options there are going forward to rehabilitate it.
And Franson's, the reason we chose Franson is because they have a specialty as it relates to dams and things like that. We're not every engineer. Engineering, there's all kinds of different things, but that Franson's part of the reason they're the experts in that.
Yeah. Through the procurement process, the RFP, we got proposals from a handful of different consultants, but their experience with dams and with the NRCS really helped tip the scale towards them.
Thanks, Ashley. That's great. Continuing on with that, though, we had a couple of other things. We made an appointment to the library board, and we congratulate Caitlin Gochner, who's now been appointed to the library board. But we had a couple of other things. Steffani, a couple of things were our county's contracted with Known to You for some vendor data exchange, and then we also certified the tax rate. Can you talk about those two things? This is Steffani Ebert, by the way. We've introduced Ashley before, but Steffani was one of our Crystal Bowl winners. She was the outstanding employee for Weber County last year. So Steffani, tell us about those two things, will you?
All right, so Weber County signed a contract with Known to You, and that is a vendor that is going to help us with our payroll software when we have our payroll deductions for our insurance, our health insurance, our dental insurance, life insurance, those types of things. We have to send information over to those vendors that hold those contracts for us. And our payroll software sends some very sensitive data on all of our employees. And so we have this contract with Known to You that's going to help us send that data to those health insurance providers in a secure manner. So that's what that contract was about.
Great, and then, but we also certified the tax rate for 2024. Tell us about that.
We did. So this is the time of year that all of the entities throughout the state have to set their property tax rates. And that is done by evaluation of all of the properties in the county by the assessor's office. Once that data is uploaded into the state system will then calculate for all of the entities what their certified tax rate is. And what a certified tax rate is that rate that will allow the entity to collect the budget revenue that is allowed by statute, which is the amount that was collected last year, plus any new growth. If an entity wants to go over that amount, they have to go through a truth and taxation process.
A public hearing. Yeah, so just because the tax rate, so so people know, the tax rate does, if the value of your house, let's say, goes from 400,000 to 500,000, the tax rate would actually decrease because the amount of the tax is exactly the same unless that entity goes through a truth in taxation hearing. But by law, that tax has to stay the same unless that entity goes through a truth in taxation. And we've divided those out on the tax notice. You know, Weber County is just the collecting agent for things like the school district or the water district or the fire district or the mosquito abatement district, like 17 or 19 things. Only 2 or 3 of those things we hold in-house. The rest of them, we collect the money in and then we send it back out to
That's
Ogden
correct.
City or the city of Washington Terrace or North Ogden or wherever you might live.
Right.
We don't keep any of that. We send all of that out to them.
That's correct.
Okay, great.
Yep. And so this is that time of year. All of those entities have to have there's deadlines that are set by state statute that they have to be done by certain dates. They have to decide by June 22nd what those rates are going to be, if they're going to go above them or not. And that's for a fiscal year entity. Calendar year entities are a little bit different. They had to go through their truth in taxation public hearings last fall if they wanted to raise their taxes this year. So
Great. Yeah, and some did, some didn't. But there were some of those tax rates that actually went down this year because of valuations and things.
correct, yes. As you mentioned, if the value of the properties go up, the tax rate will go down because we cannot collect any more revenue dollars than we did last year.
Perfect. Thanks for that explanation. We'd be glad to answer any more questions. If you want to give us a call down here at Weber County, we can explain that or point you to resources that are online, independent resources that are online, so you can substantiate any of those things we've talked about. We appreciate you joining us for this week's Commission Recap. Join us again next week, same bad time, same bad channel. Most people don't know what that is.